Hello, 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 amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. Wow, how exciting I get to see my friend today on the podcast. And her name is Alexxa Morgan. And there's a lot that we're going to be chatting about, but let me tell you a little bit about her. Okay, she's really amazing. So I'm so excited for this episode. So, graduating high school at 16, Alexxa embarked on a remarkable academic journey, earning a business and management degree from Pepperdine University as the first in her family to do so. Her passion for volunteering began at age 5, leading her to dedicate countless hours to organizations like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, where she fundraised $22,000 to grant wishes for 2 children. Alexxa's community service extended to the San Diego Burn Institute, the Fire Prevention Association, and various animal welfare groups, earning her 3 prestigious Gold Service Awards from the White House. Alexxa also funded her education through pageantry, becoming the first Miss Oceanside Fire Prevention since 1962 and winning Miss Teenage California 2014. She now brings her experience and passion for innovation to the tech industry, having worked with Google and Apple, and is part of a pioneering team developing the first EV vertical airlift service. So without further ado, amigas, this is Alexxa Morgan. Well, hello, amigas, and welcome to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. Okay, so this is so exciting because I haven't seen my friend since my birthday. Yes, since February, amigas. Yes, she attended my birthday. That was like the first time I met her, actually. Long short, I'm so happy that she was able to be there with us and celebrate all the amazingness that happened during that crazy week.
It was an incredible week. Crazy in the best way.
So I'm excited because I got to learn more about her. And I thought, wow, what an incredible human being. And amiga, she's super young. I mean, I could be her mama, but wow. Well, I already said, I already turned 50, so shit, I can be someone's mama, many people. Well, anyways, oh my God, Alexxa, I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for being here with me on Amiga Handle Your Shit. So welcome, my dear friend, Alexxa.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is the highlight of my month. So I'm very honored and very excited to be here. So.
Oh, well, you know what? The honor is mine, my love. So here's the thing, amigas out there who don't know who Alexxa Morgan is. You will get to know who she is by the end of this conversation. So one of the beautiful things that I saw on her Instagram is that she calls herself a Jesus lover, a world traveler, an ex-Googler, and a former Miss Teenage pageant amazing queen. And she has received multiple awards from the Gold Presidential Awards from the White House, amigas. I mean, come on. Hello. Who the fuck gets an award from White House?
It was a surprise to me too, but it was a great honor. It was actually someone else nominated me for it. So amigas, it was a pleasant surprise.
Wow. No, I'm just like, damn, this girl has done a lot. And as you probably already heard from my intro, it starts at a very, very young age. So I really want Alexxa to talk to us a little bit more where she's from, what her background is, because I think that is like the key to why she is who she is and why she's here with us. So Alexxa, please tell us where you're from, what's your background?
Yeah, so I was born in Bakersfield, but I've spent my entire life in San Diego. I'm from like Oceanside, Carlsbad area, so right near the military base. I was raised by a single mom, so that's like a big factor in my story and my life. So I was an only child raised by a single mom, and I always joke growing up, I was like, we weren't poor, we were po. We couldn't afford the OR at the end of it. So it was definitely life had its trials and tribulations at a very young age. But one thing that always stuck with me is my mom had this mindset of, it doesn't matter what we're going through. It doesn't matter what we have each other, and it is our job to help someone who's struggling more than us. So I remember I was 5 years old with my first volunteer experience ever, and she dressed me up as the Easter Bunny. And I was in this like full onesie with big old Easter Bunny ears and a cottontail, and she drew these whiskers. And there's a big old cutout for my face. And as a child, I was mortified. I did not want to wear this in public. I was like, why do I have to do this? And she goes, just wait and see. And we ended up going to Teresa's house for battered women and children on Easter. And we brought them these Easter baskets. And it had clothes and toys and blankets and all these things. And I had all these children, ironic because I was 5 at the time, but all these little, kids and toddlers coming up and hugging me and saying thank you. And that was the first time I ever experienced that. And that kind of like just was the catalyst for me saying, okay, we do have to help. There's always something that we can do, and we can make a difference in someone's life in more ways than one. And you never really know how that impact will be. And then from there, I worked with Make-A-Wish Foundation. So I actually started working with Make-A-Wish Foundation at the age of 6.
Okay, we got to, what? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, amigas. Okay, so this is the thing about Alexxa. The first time I met her, I thought, wow, this woman, young woman, like as we say in Spanish, is muy servicial, meaning she loves to serve and support people. And I thought, God, that is so beautiful as a human being, right? And I just barely met you, Alexxa. And I thought, God, man, I want her to be part of my team or something. So
I would love to.
Here's the thing. I mean, I'm like, okay, so here you are, 5 years old, volunteering. You're the bunny at the time, but then you said you Make-A-Wish Foundation. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Now you're 6 years old and getting involved in the Make-A-Wish Foundation. How does one do that?
So the Make-A-Wish actually partners with, so this was when Chargers were back in San Diego at the time, and you could actually volunteer to be, or you could sign up to be a junior Charger girl. So you actually would cheer on the field with the Charger girls. And what you do is you would fundraise in advance. And so the goal was to fundraise as much money as you can, and 100% of the proceeds would go to Make-A-Wish Foundation. And it was one of those things that I was like, I love this organization. I met kids my age that were, fighting life-threatening illnesses. And to give kids the opportunity of hope and for a wish is something that it's an organization that's very near and dear to my heart. I've been a part of it for more than a decade now. I actually became the first Miss Make-A-Wish when I was 16. Funny enough, so when I competed, and going off, little off topic, but still related, when I competed in my state title, so I competed for Miss Teenage California, you could choose to represent your city, or you can choose to represent an organization that you were happy with, or like that you were a part of. And so for me, I said, I have to try and represent Make-A-Wish. So I actually ended up contacting the CMO at the time, and I said, I have a business proposal for you. If you'll give me 15 minutes of your time, I would love to go over this with you. I think it's a really good marketing idea. It's something that's never been done before. And he was like, how old are you? I remember him being on the phone and be like, how old are you? How did you get my number? And I was like, I'm 16 years old, but I got it. I have a vision. I have an idea, and I would love to run it by you. And he thought I was joking, so he wanted to meet with me in person.
16 years old. Hello. Shit, what was I doing? God, nothing. Wow. But how do you get that guts though? You being that gutsy, like to do that? Like, where does that come from?
So I will say that is definitely a personality trait from the Lord. That's definitely part of it. I would say that's my mom has always told me ever since I was little. So Alexxa actually means helper of mankind. And my mom used to tell me that growing up. She goes, I don't know what you'll do in this world, but I know you're going to help in some way or another. And that's what your name means. That's what you're going to live up to. And so I kind of already had that like gusto always inside of me. I was always a fearless kid. I was homeschooled from 3rd grade to graduating year. So my mom was I would say I love my mother. She's the most incredible woman in my life. She's definitely a tough cookie. So she did not, life wasn't easy, and she did not make it any easier in no sense. But she always
being a single mom.
Exactly. She's a mama bear for sure.
Yeah, it's very
Exactly.
challenging. I mean,
And
I
so,
like I complain sometimes because my husband doesn't help out, or you know what I mean. But
yeah,
like the pickups,
it's,
the
I
drop
think
off,
it's the hardest job in the world. I truly
absolutely,
believe it. And it should be,
absolutely.
people should honor it and respect it a lot more than they do, because there's no days off. You don't get paid, you don't get overtime, you don't get holidays. It's doesn't matter what time of day, anything like that, you always are there. So she
No
did
sick.
an incredible job. But
Oh my God,
she,
for sure.
yeah, she it was funny because I remember my first like purchase that I wanted as a kid. I was like I was like 6 or 7, and I wanted Heelys, the shoes with the wheels
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
bottom.
yes, yes,
And I
yes.
remember my mom saying, those are $99.95 if you want them. And I said, I don't have $99.95. She goes, well, you better go figure out how to get the $99.95. So I've always been like, okay, if I want it, I have to go get it. And so she like very much instilled like an entrepreneurship mentality within me. And she always said, the worst thing that someone could tell you is no. So she goes, you never get what you never ask for. And the worst thing someone can say is no. So if they say no, you don't walk away losing anything. You at least you have everything to gain. So that's definitely where that mentality. And when I reached out to Make-A-Wish, I was like, I have this crazy idea. And I was like, it's never been done before. But for me, I think there's something in me that I like, not being the exception to the rule, but I do believe that I was like, it hasn't been done yet. It doesn't mean it can't be done. It hasn't been done yet.
Yes.
So I think having that motivation and pioneering things has always been something that's been a big driver for me. I like doing things that aren't expected, I guess.
Well,
People always want to put you in a box, but
no, I'm so excited
break the
that
barriers.
you're saying that, because as a 16-year-old, I mean, come on, how intimidating is it to speak to someone who's at the C level, right? I mean,
Oh yeah.
come on.
I remember going into the office, and my mom and I we took the train down to San Diego, and I was like in my little like professional outfit, and I was like, okay, these are the talking points I want to go over. These are the ideas that I have. And I remember going up to the admin, and she looked at me asking if I was one of the children to Make-A-Wish. So that was kind of the funny part. I said, oh no, I'm here for a meeting. And she goes, okay. I was like, yeah, I am. So it was, everyone was confused by it. And he ended up talking to the CEO about it, and CEO and I became good friends after that. But it was the same thing. He goes, this girl reached out. He goes, and I'm more intrigued by the fact she had the courage to contact me, and he goes, she sounded professional. He goes, I'm just kind of curious to see, what it is. And I think exactly, who is this child? Who let her contact me, and what is she doing? Should she be in school? So definitely one of those.
Oh my God. Okay, so here you are. You highlight this new idea, and so tell us a little bit more about this idea. What actually happened?
Yeah, so I wanted to basically, the Make-A-Wish Foundation is an incredible organization, and there's chapters within every major city in the US. But one of the big things is there isn't like a face. There isn't someone who talks to the people. And one of the biggest misconceptions is that every child that gets a wish is terminally ill. And that's one thing that they do. That was the issue that we were trying to resolve, is how do you switch the mindset to, these children do have life-threatening illnesses, but so many of them are so resilient. And when they get their wish, it gives them hope. It gives them something to look forward to. It really changes your mindset. And you see that, in my opinion, like, children are the most resilient, and seeing, how a child could go through something so hard, but be so grateful and so loving. And I think the part that always got me is, I said, I would ask these kids, because they were like sometimes my age, and I would say, how do you stay so strong? And they said, well, I can't let my mom see me be scared, or I can't let my dad see me be scared, because I know how terrified they are.
Oh my
God. You meet these kids, and you're just like, wow, I will admit, I definitely went to events so the goal was to be a representative and talk to people and get people involved and wanting to be a part of the organization. So they ended up giving me the opportunity to do so. So I was Miss Make-A-Wish, first one ever. Yeah. And the goal with it was, so the average wish cost about $8,000. And so the goal was to raise enough money to grant one wish by the time I competed in the pageant. Yeah. And so that was about like 8 months to a year. And I ended up fundraising $22,000 for the organization. So I ended up getting the opportunity to grant 2 wishes and representing them in the state pageant, which I ended up winning, which was
of course
great publicity for them, great opportunity for me, and it was a win-win in that situation. So it definitely paid off, I will say.
My
it was
God.
an incredible experience.
10x. Truly,
yeah,
truly.
it was truly a blessing. But I've loved it. And then they ended up keeping me on as a representative for another year, just because we enjoyed working with each other so much, and I got to be with the kids because they would have these fundraisers, and like, you know, Make-A-Wish kids would come, but it's a fundraiser with a bunch of adults, and it wasn't always the most exciting environment, or, you know, kids didn't want to feel like they were on display. So being someone that could make it enjoyable for them, you know, having them feel comfortable, and if, you know, getting them to talk to people. These, you know, a lot of these kids have spent so much time in a hospital that sometimes, you know, social anxieties is a real thing, especially when you're kind of the guest of honors.
Yeah.
So, you know, just being that person that is, you know, their buddy through the experiences and helping them enjoy it and making them feel comfortable is like my favorite part of the job. So I really, really enjoyed it.
How beautiful is that? And so, okay, so here you're doing the pageantry and you're raising money. So at some point, where does the life of your educational background at Pepperdine, how does that come about in your life?
Yeah, so I was raised in a Christian household. It's always been my faith has always been a really big part of my life. I graduated high school at 16. And like any 16-year-old, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, which I think is fair.
Yes.
And I was praying and just like saying, okay, I was like, I want to go to college. No one in my family has ever been to college. My grandmother is from Guadalajara, Mexico. She never made it past 4th grade. My grandfather barely made it past high school. So my mom always said, if you want to go to college, that's great. That's a great goal, but you're going to have to figure it out, because I don't have any knowledge. I don't have the experience, and I don't have the money to help you. So that's how I actually got into pageants. Is fun fact, pageants offer some of the largest scholarships for females in the country. And I said, oh, well, this is the way we're going to do it. This is a creative way to pay for school. And Pepperdine had an incredible program. It was between, I wanted to stay in SoCal. That was my goal. I'm a San Diego girl through and through. I like warm weather.
Yes.
But when I graduated high school, I was the youngest person ever to be accepted to Joyce Meyer Ministries internship program in St. Louis. So I actually moved away to the Midwest at 16. I lived in the 3rd most dangerous zip code in the country. It was an incredible experience. We worked like 50, 60 hours a week in this internship. We worked with like 9 different outreaches. We fed, 800 kids after school every day, 200 homeless. And you get to see how God works in people's lives in so many different capacities. So I was out there for about 6 months or so, and I experienced a Midwest winter, and then I had to come home. I was like, I love it out here, but I can't do the freezing cold, guys. My body cannot survive.
No.
So yeah, I came back, and I was like, okay, this is confirmation. If I go to college, it needs to be in warmer weather. And I was praying about it, and it was between UCSD and Pepperdine. And I just said, I love the internship program that I was in. I got to see, how God could make such a change in people's lives. And I really wanted to get an education where my peers and the faculty have similar values. Just even going to the orientation and talking to people, they hold themselves to such a high level of integrity. And that's something that's really important to me is, I don't want to take the easy way out. And I know there's so many people that want to cut corners, but just to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And it's just kind of instilled in your character, I think was something that really stood out to me about Pepperdine. And the program that I did specifically that really drew me to it, that was like the final movement towards it, was that the program that I was in, every professor actually had to, so I studied business. Every professor actually had to run a successful company and then teach on the side. That had to be their second job.
Okay.
And the reason being is because they said we want our students to learn from people who are actually in these fields. We don't want just a theoretical knowledge of the information. We want people who are doing it. So it was incredible to work with people like my marketing professor runs the 2nd largest credit card processing company in competition with PayPal. And, my operations manager professor, she was an exec at Coca-Cola for a long period of time. And so learning from people that are in the industry that are having to work and be a professor on the side, one, they teach you really about time management, and everyone is motivated in the program, because you're like, okay, if my professor went to work all day long and now they're coming to teach afterwards, I can go to work all day and still get my homework done, kind of thing. So it's it taught me a really good lesson, and it was very motivating. And so that was one of the reasons I chose Pepperdine, for sure.
I bet. Oh my God. Talking about time management, I'm like, shit. Yeah, how incredible to do that. Because oh God, I eat, I get tired, I want to take a nap.
Oh yeah, same. Naps are mandatory in my life. This is the only way I survive.
I'm like, oh my God, you really have to be very efficient with your time to have not only a full-time position, but then also go and teach. Like that is
exactly. And they have families. They have, it's one of those things. Also, to meet people who have gone through it. Like one of my leadership professor, I don't remember, she was studying to get 2 MBAs at the same time. She was a professor and she worked as a VP at a company, and she was a mom of 3. And she goes, I've never missed any of my son's baseball games and practices. And I said, we were all like, how does that work? Where do you get extra hours in the day? Like, how do you figure this out? And she's like, when I would go to their games, and she goes, I would have my book, and if my kid wasn't playing, I'd be studying in the bleachers. And she goes, I had a rice cooker at home, and like the crock pot. So that did the cooking by the time we get home at the end of the day. And she goes, you just have to make it work. And that was something when I was in St. Louis, it was a phrase that I learned, and it's something that's really stuck with me, is FIOMIH, which is figure it out and make it happen.
Yes.
And it's just, if there's a will, there's a way. You just gotta figure it out. You don't know how, but at some point you just gotta really prioritize. And I think that when you live a life that's very intentional, it makes it a lot easier to manage your time, because you're not wasting it. But it is hard. You have to really make the decisions and sit with everything and say, okay, is going out with my friends really the priority right now? I should really be with my family? Is it, I think you have different seasons in your life where you focus a lot on work, and that's okay. And you have to pull back sometimes and say, hey, I'm getting burned out. Now I need to focus on my family. I think you can have it all. It's just not necessarily all at once. You have to know that things are going to be, give and take, and it's figuring out which season of your life that you're in to do that.
Yeah.
Is a big part.
Yes. And what I have learned after speaking with you, having many conversations with you, is that you do definitely live a very intentional life. And
I try to.
And you don't waste any opportunity. Like, it's almost like you're the energizing battery.
My friends call me the Energizer Bunny, because they're like, I don't understand how you get all this done. And I was like, you figure it, like I'll sleep later eventually.
Yeah. You know what I will be said, and I shouldn't be saying this, but I do. I said, I'll sleep when I'm dead, because I'm like, yes, let's make this shit happen. Thus the
exactly.
podcast, right? Oh wow. Yeah. This is fantastic stuff. So Amiga, okay, so you eventually graduate from Pepperdine. Mm-hmm. So what was your first job out of Pepperdine?
So I worked as a technician at Apple retail prior to that. And right when I graduated, I got an offer to actually come to Apple corporate. So that was my first job out of college, and I was very excited. So
you were involved in the tech world, which is because you were in the business side. So
yes.
Okay. So I just want to kind of follow the trajectory of your education. So your degree is in business and technology?
Business and management.
Strictly
business.
Okay, so how does the business and management land you in the tech? Because I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, how is that possible?
For sure. Well, so for me, I've always wanted to be in tech. I think for one, I was like, okay, this is the future of everything. This is something where, job security in that sense. Computer science was not the degree I wanted to go for. Sitting down at a computer all day is not, I thrive with people. I prefer things on an operational standpoint. And so I said, okay, how can I combine business with tech, and what are the avenues that I can choose for that? So my first role out of college was to be a project coordinator at Apple. So I actually ran user studies. So anything involving the Apple Watch, as far as like fitness workouts, those kind of things, you're able to do that. So
because of Alexxa, right?
Yeah. So
Yes.
we had a lot of opportunities like that, which was really cool. So,
Oh,
but
that is
that's where it started, and that gave me the opportunity to work in tech just from a different standpoint, which I really enjoyed. It was also the health aspect. My mom was always very health oriented, so that was a big part for us.
nice. So then, okay, so you go to Apple, but then you leave Apple for Google, or how does that?
Yes. So I was at Apple for in that space for about 3.5 years during the pandemic. And then I got an opportunity to go over to Google. Some call it the dark side, some call it the light side, depending on who
Right.
you're a fan of. But that was, yeah, I got the opportunity to go be a program manager at Google, which I absolutely loved. I love the culture. It's a really incredible place to work. Sometimes it's hard to believe that that's really a working environment. I remember I brought friends to my job because you can bring people and there's free food and we have gyms and there's like a pool and people were like, "When do you work?" And I was like, "In between, I don't know." So it was a really cool experience and getting to see and surround myself with people who are so incredibly smart. I think the biggest thing that you learn is like having worked in tech for almost over 7 years now. You know, there's a lot of. I had a professor say this one time, and it was one of those like just little statements that kind of stuck with me over the years. He goes, "Look, there's a lot of people who know tech, and there's a lot of people who know business. There's very few people who can work cross functionally and communicate with both teams. If you can do that, he goes, your job prospects will be." You'll have so many opportunities in the world because there's so few people who can say, I have the ability to think like a programmer and this is what they need to achieve. And then go to the business side and say, okay, but what do people want? What do the markets want? What are people looking for? They can think of the product, but they can't think of how to build it. Other people are like, I can build things, but I don't know what you want me to build. So being that person that's been in between has actually been a lot of fun. And
What
I
a
kind of joke sometimes and like I'm kind of like a glorified mom to people because I have to make sure everyone crosses their T's and dots their I's and gets their homework in on time. And you have to get along with people, and that's not always the easiest thing to find in tech.
no,
I
but
get
that
along with everybody, so that works in my favor. But
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. I've always said that I'm like I am the best when it comes to social settings, but when it
hmm
comes to technology, oh my God, I'm inept. I like don't even I'm like so definitely like there's either you're like really intelligent in emotional intelligence, and then there's those that have the IQ of like Einstein, but like
oh
cannot
yeah,
no way they can cross
a
pollinate
hundred
each
percent.
other.
I have
Right?
Oh yeah, I have friends that are actual like IQ, like genius IQ levels, incredibly smart. You cannot put them in a room with people. Like if you were going to put them in a room with stakeholders, they will make everyone very angry because they don't know how to communicate properly. So it's one of those things you're like, you're so smart, but at the same time, doesn't always translate the right way. You know, it's not what you say, it's how you say it a lot of the time. So, but
Right.
yeah, it's kind of funny sometimes working with people who are so incredibly brilliant. And you're just like, I tell people, I was like, sometimes you're the smartest dumb person I know,
The
or you're the
smartest.
dumbest smart person. Like, I was like, I don't get it. You can literally build a rocket ship, but if you had to do a public speaking event with people, you're to get your point across for something, it's not going to go well.
Gonna go well.
So,
No,
but we all have our strengths. I
you're
think that's the
kind of
biggest
like
thing.
the liaison between both. Like it's like, okay,
Exactly.
I'll be your speech coach today.
Basically, yeah.
Oh
So,
God. So
but
Amiga, okay. So you were at Apple, you were at Google, and now you're at this wonderful company called it's called
Archer Aviation.
Archer Aviation. So tell us
Yep.
about that company.
Yeah, so it's been around for just a couple years. So it's really been an adjustment going from big tech to not necessarily a startup, but it's still closer to being a startup than it is to being a medium-sized company. And our goal is to build the first EV vertical airlift. So basically, long story short, it's the goal of eventually being flying cars. It's the first iteration of flying cars.
Oh my God, that
So
reminds me of the Jetsons.
exactly. Yes, that's what everyone thinks. So right now it's trying to be the Uber of the sky is basically how it works. And so, we have our designs and our test pilots and our test prototypes of our uh, flights. And basically the goal is to have it be like short, short-term flights for certain distances. So it's just basically to help with like congestion within freeways and those kind of things. So one would be like obviously in LA.
LA.
Another one is San
Angelina's out
Francisco.
there. Oh my God.
It's you have to be a certified pilot. It's not anyone can fly these things. So that's the good news. So there will be like, think of it like Uber first. It's the first iteration of it. So we have a long ways to go to get to flying car.
Yeah.
But
is this
the first iteration of that?
Is this a public company?
Yes, it is a public company. So it's
what's its
I can send it to you. I should know. I'm still fairly new, so I need to know that. I don't know that off the top of my head, but yeah, we're in communications with the FAA, and we're closest to being like there's a few people in this area. But we're the first to get FAA approved, which is going to be huge. So it's very exciting. At the end of the year, we'll see how things go. But so one of the flight paths is going to be from San Francisco to Napa. So it'll take 15 minutes to get there. For all those individuals that want to go and take a short trip to Napa and enjoy it.
That's
exactly.
us.
You're going to have to come. Yes. Well, I'll get you signed up. And then it'll be from like Manhattan to New Jersey. They're working on one in Chicago. There's a few in Saudi Arabia that we're working with. So we're working with the government over there to try it out as well. So they'll probably be, the airports are going to be first established there. But yeah, the FAA is working here. So it's very exciting. I actually just signed up to do one of their testing here. So I'm excited. I have yet to try it. So we'll see how this works, but we're in the manufacturing stages and it's exciting stuff. It's weird though, working on things that you're like, like I remember when I actually started at Apple right when the Apple Watch came out, and everyone thought, oh, it's like Dick Tracy, and like, we've been waiting for this for so long. So it's all the stuff that you saw on TV long ago is finally happening. So we have self-driving cars here in San Francisco, and that really always throws people off when they come to visit.
Yeah,
and
it's
trippy.
So we have it here also, but I'm like, oh my God, that car is driving by itself. It is very trippy.
It's scary. And it's exciting, but it shows you how fast technology evolves, I think, for some people. And they're like, I'm not ready for it. But Amiga, it's a great opportunity.
You're doing so much. And how do you find dates? Because I know this is a wonderful segue, because obviously, I know a backstory that we're kind of going to highlight on this episode, because, you're such an incredibly efficient woman and very busy. And so as a beautiful, wonderful young woman, how do you find time to socialize? Because I know you did something so radical that we must talk about. Let's dig it, girl.
Yeah. So I think what happened was, after being homeschooled for so long, I was I've always been a bucket list girl. I've always been like a list girl. I was like, I need to be efficient with my time. Time is the one thing you can never get back. And that's something that I've always really held very, in high regard. If I want to be intentional with how I use my time and who I spend my time with. And so I was actually, when I was 19, I hadn't dated. I was always, focused on school, focused on work. I just wanted to be a boss babe and, just get my life in order and figure out what I wanted to do with my future. And one of my friends ended up saying, you should probably date. You've never gone on a date. You've never had a boyfriend. And I was like, I've never met anyone worth my time, to be honest. Like, if I'm going to dedicate so much time to them, I want to make sure that it's someone that, I really enjoy their company, and we inspire each other to be the best versions of ourselves. And they're like, yeah, but you're such a prude. You just need to get out there. And I was like, oh, who are you calling a prude? And then from there, my extremist personality goes, well, I'll show you. I was like, I've never gone on a date. But you know what? I'm going to go on 50 dates in 50 days with 50 different guys. Let's see if that's a prude.
You talk about outlandish. Oh my God.
The funny part is, it was based off of the movie 50 First Dates, and which I've never seen. I didn't think it had anything to do with 50 different dates. I know it's with the same person, but that's where I got the number. And I said 50 dates in 50 days with 50 different guys. Why not? Like, I don't know anyone that's ever done that. And that's I was like, that sounds crazy. Let's do it. And so I, downloaded, that's when like Tinder and Bumble were out. And I said, okay, let's download these dating apps and let's just meet people. And I was like, I'm a picky girl. I have no problem saying that. But it was one of those things I said, okay, this will open me a little bit more to like different types of people, maybe not someone that I have a lot in common with, maybe I can learn from them. So I went on 14 dates in a row every day, different person. And I was just, it's a program manager in me before I was even a program manager. I was like, okay, let's be efficient with this. It can be a coffee date. I was like, I don't want to text someone for 3 weeks and then meet them. Like, if we match, I'm like, hey, do you want to meet? Cool. Let's meet for coffee. Let's go for ice cream. Let's go for a walk. Like, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Let's just see if we like each other. Cause I feel like when people meet online, it's so easy to, be a Casanova. You get time to think about what you want to say. And I love witty banter. I love people that you can just communicate and the conversation flows so naturally that I was like, I don't want to wait, like be disappointed that, oh, they're so great in text. And then I meet them in person. I was like, oh, that's why you always texted so late. It's because you had to think about what you were going to say. Right. So, but yeah, I went on 14 dates, and then I met someone that I had incredible chemistry with. We had the most incredible conversations. We talked about our families. We talked about our, what we wanted out of life. And it just was so natural. And after the date, I was like, oh no, I really like this guy. I actually don't want to go on these other dates. Cause I had like 2 other weeks lined up after him. So I actually canceled all those dates. And I was like, I don't even know if he's going to ask me on a second date. I feel like he would. We had such a great time. I think our date lasted like 6 hours. And I was like, I really like him. Like I'm willing to cancel everything else that I have to just get to know him. And we ended up dating for like 3.5, almost 4 years. It was a great relationship until it wasn't. I say everything in life is either a blessing or a lesson. Some things start off as a blessing and then they become really good lessons. So after we broke up, I was like, well, I never finished my 50 dates, so I might as well go for round 2. And so I ended up going on 9 more dates. And then I met my next partner at the time, and we were together for a year. It was a great relationship. He was complete opposite of the person prior to him. And it showed me that you can have different types of relationships. You can have different types of love with people. And he fortunately was not from, the joke I make is he got deported. Basically, but he's from Norway, so it's a little different of deportation. But he had to go home, basically, is what it was.
Yeah.
So, but
so that was over. His visa was up.
His visa was over, basically. Yeah, he was here for school, and then he could work here for a year, and then if he couldn't get sponsored, but he had to go home. So that's what happened there. And then after him, I was like, let's go back to it. And so I went on 12 dates, and then I was like, oh gosh, this is a lot of work. I don't know. I don't know if it's because I was younger and I was like, it's efficient with my time. But now I'm like, oh, this is a lot. You have to, all these different conversations you have to have with people and getting to know them and kind of doing the pleasantries. And then I said, okay, you know what? I just need to stop. I'm tired. But yeah, I tried to do it. I didn't quite make it to 50, but it was a good little experiment because it also, I would say the one benefit of it was like, yeah, some people, I went on a dating podcast and some people weren't a fan of it because they say you're gamifying dating, which I totally understand and I respect. I always try to be very respectful and like not waste anyone's time as far as like getting to know them and that kind of thing. But it was one of those things for me. I think it made me have to be more open to different types of people because just, I was like, oh, this person's like really into sports. I'm not really a sports fan, or, oh, this person, I don't have anything in common with this guy who's a musician. Like, but you have to be more open to it. And then I think the biggest thing is, I think some girls, when they go on such a bad date, it kind of like makes you not want to, it makes you dread going on another date. But because I didn't have a lot of time between, I didn't have a lot of time to be sad if it was a really bad date. If anything, it became really like a funny experiment in the sense of like, if I went on a terrible date, all my friends were like, tell me about it. Like, we want to hear, like, it became entertainment for my friends more than anything, which I think made it easier. Cause it's like they say, like, if you fall off the horse, you get back on. And so it definitely, I was like, oh, if some dates were fine. They were nice. Other dates were great. Other dates were, oh my goodness. Like, I remember one day it was so painful. And I like was holding a fork and I was like, if I stab myself in the eye, I can go home. Like, I can be like, I need to go, because I was just trying to leave and he wouldn't let me leave. And it was so bad. But then I told my friends about it. I was like, okay, well, I have another date tomorrow. So it kind of like just makes you like I think it helps like the fear of failure too.
Do
It's like
you
when you ask
ghost
people
them?
so much.
Do you
Some
ghost?
of them I did. It was bad. I'm not a fan of ghosting. Some of them I ghosted. Some of them I just said, "Hey, I didn't really feel like I think you're a really, nice person,
For
but I
somebody
didn't feel
else.
anything romantically." Yeah, like I feel like yeah. When I was younger, yeah, I was a little bit of a ghoster. I admit.
Oh my
That's yeah.
God.
We live
Like,
and learn. I'm trying
yeah,
not to ghost anyone now. So
well, you got to be efficient. I mean,
yeah.
really. I mean, the only commodity you can't replicate is time.
Yeah, and like I grew up with a single mom, so I didn't have. And my mom was very protective of me growing up, so she's very very independent. She never really dated around me, so I never got to see what healthy relationships were. I never really had that exposure. So I've always been. It's funny working in user studies. Even prior to that, I'm always someone that likes to see data. My opinion is one thing, my mother's opinion is another, but I want to see like, okay, what does the data say? Like, what is like evolutionary psychology? If we look at behavioral psychology, what does it say? What's the best way to approach dating? What are the things you need in a relationship? So that's how I found like people like Esther Perel, and individuals like that, where I said, okay, I don't know anything about healthy romantic partnerships and relationships. Where do I learn this? How do I make sure I'm a great partner for whoever my future partner is, and I don't carry any baggage into those relationships? But also what to look for. Like I don't
Yeah.
like
Well,
sometimes I was like
your
I'm
experiment,
kind of clueless here.
but your
you know?
experiment actually really shows you as proof of like what does
Yeah,
not, and
exactly.
and identifying that immediately
Yes.
versus letting it linger and prolong, which
Oh
is
yeah.
a trait that we as women are experts in. We tend
Yes.
not to like cut the cord right away,
Oh yeah. Well,
right?
and I think we're always afraid of the level of people pleasing we have is it's I don't want to upset someone. I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, and but we're willing to always put ourselves last. And I think that's sometimes such a hard thing is like when you put yourself last, always you have nothing left to give. And it's kind of like I think one thing a lot of women need to learn is like not taking care of yourself is not selfish, because it actually makes you the best version to help those around you.
Yeah.
And like that's not the mentality that we're taught growing up,
Well,
especially in Latino culture. I feel like it's you cater to everyone else around you. You always make sure everyone else is okay, and then maybe, just maybe, if there's a little bit of free time, then you can focus on yourself on that end piece. But
yeah, no.
burnout is real.
Yeah, one of the things I teach in the Amiga Way Academy is we get to be selfish, and selfish is
Mm-hmm.
not like you said. It's not like you're like, no, it's just I'm gonna be myself. No, it's more of like you're taking care of yourself. You're
Yes.
pouring into yourself so that you can get to live in overflow and share with
Yes.
everybody else. So it seems like
100%.
you're doing that. You're being so efficient with your time. I admire you, especially you're so young that
Thank
you're
you.
doing the things that people only dream of doing. And not only in relationships but also in philanthropy. Like you exude service, and exactly how your name is, what is it, helper of mankind, and I see
Yeah.
that you are a helper of
Thank you.
mankind, Alexxa. I'm so excited for all the things that you're doing, and
Thank you.
your experiment, is it going to continue?
I actually have met someone.
Woo!
So yeah, it's
Never
new
know.
stages, but I definitely don't want to.
Yeah.
If I find someone that I really like and that I really respect, I don't want
No.
to
Yeah.
mess that up. So
No, no need to mess
yeah,
it up. When you find it, when you find that spark, because sometimes the spark can end, but sometimes it doesn't. Look at
yeah,
me. I'm only 17 years married, so
that's the goal. You and Cookie are the goal for sure.
well, let me tell you, it goes like this,
For
right?
sure.
Up and down. So long as you have that on your mind's eye, that not all relationships are not actually, there's not one single relationship that is perfect. They all
100%.
they all have their their peaks and valleys,
Yeah.
and it's in those valleys that it's where you start to really foster whether this is for you or it's not for you. So
Yeah. No,
yeah, well,
definitely.
Well, amiga, I know we're getting here at the tail end of our talk here, and I always ask my guests if they can provide one or two tips on how an amiga can handle her shit. What say you,
Yes, I would say one that I've learned in more recent years is that I definitely think it's important for women to surround themselves with other strong, motivated, successful women. And that success doesn't have to be in a monetary stance. It's someone who has the family dynamic that you want. I think women are also taught to always be very catty with one another, or like there's not enough pie to go around. So anytime someone's like successes are happening, I think a lot of women get threatened by it, or it someone else's. I had a friend say this to me a couple of years ago, and she goes, I don't get it. She goes, you never get jealous of other women. Oh, sorry. She's like, you never get jealous of other women. And I said, why would I? I said, I haven't done what they did to get to where they're at. Like, if anything, it inspires me. And I think women need to celebrate each other more. And when you find female friends that are genuinely happy for you and your successes, that's unparalleled, because it's when you find those people that are in your corner, I think is such a big thing. And like, that was one thing I remember being at your birthday that I truly loved and admire, is you had such a beautiful group of women, and you brought them all together, and they were there to celebrate you, and they were so happy for your successes. And the way everyone spoke about each other, like you all lifted each other up. And I see that in smaller groups, but your friend group was actually the first time I've seen it in women. And I was like, gosh, they're all so beautiful. They're all, they have these beautiful families, and they're just so, you're radiating from the inside, and you all celebrate it. And like, for me, I was like, I want to find my version of this. I want to find my group of friends like this. So that's something I'm focusing on this year, is really trying to find friends that celebrate my successes with me, and when you go through the hard times, they're also there. Yeah, honestly, I would love to move back to SoCal. So
that would be amazing to have you here and be a part of all the things that we're doing. And I mean, I'm just so grateful that Nadine brought you to the party, because I was like,
I'm very grateful too.
Who is this woman? I love her.
I had the best time, and I was so honored when you invited me to your birthday. It was such a beautiful week for me, just to see you all together. And just like I said, I feel like, it's so sad to say, but I don't see a lot of beautiful, strong women really just uplift each other in everything. And you all are so successful in such different ways, and like it was so admirable. And it was like, for me, it was so like awe-inspiring. Like, I kept finding myself like being in the corner being like, I think this is so cool. This is like, this is the goal. This is the dream. This is like, just, it's like, people always talk about like girl squads and those kinds of things, but you guys like actually have like such a beautiful girl squad. And I was just like, I love this. I love this. I support this. I love it.
I have to tell you that the intention I had for my birthday was that I only want expanders at my party, people who really support me completely. And I thought there was going to be other individuals who have been in my life that I thought were like my best friends, but one of the highlights of COVID all that time really showed me those that actually are here to support me. And they all disappeared out of my life. And that's a beautiful thing. I honor things are for a season or for a reason, or a lifetime. And 100%. And that's okay. And I treasure every moment of every individual. And so for me now, as you said, surround yourself with other strong women. That's exactly what I have done. I completely changed my life. And I feel like if you need any support, amiga, let me know. I'm 50 years. I have a lot of experience in this realm.
I will definitely take you up on that for sure.
And then, maybe no more 50 dates. Maybe this is the one. You never know, right?
You never know. We leave it to God. So
yeah. Exactly. Living in purpose and having
and
is their center
100%.
of their life. 1,000%. Well, amiga, thank you so much for being here with me today. And amigas out there, make sure you follow her. She is found on Jax underscore Alexxa. Is that what
It should be Alexxa underscore
Alexxa.
Morgan.
Okay. Oh my God. Alexa. Why did I say that? Why did I
It's all
say my
good.
name?
I love it. You combined it. We're starting a new company. We're combining
oh my God.
team.
Yes, Alexxa underscore Morgan. Yes.
Yeah. Alexxa with 2 X's. ALEXXA.
Not to
Dos
forget.
Equis.
Yes, Dos Equis. Thank you so much, Alexxa. And I'm so grateful for you to be here. And I know there's going to be a lot of young ladies out there. They're going to be like, how the fuck did you do this 50 days?
It was hard. It's a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie. It was like another side job, but
yeah, no, I know. But you're a workaholic and you're very efficient. You know, your expertise is in project management, so of course.
Yeah.
Well, amiga,
it happened to work out in that regard. So it's definitely my personality. But thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Alexxa.
Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Likewise, my friend.